Okay, now we are officially into the grid-ins of this section. So it's section 6. We're going to do 9 to 13. Okay, so these are the easies into the mediums. So let's start with number 9. If a cake is cut into thirds and each third is cut into fourths, how many pieces of cake are there? Well, we take the cake, we cut it into thirds, something like that. So there's 1, 2, 3 of these, obviously. Now we take each of these thirds and we slice it into fourths. Okay, so we cut each of these pieces here into 4 pieces. So that means there are 3 fours, or 12 pieces total. You could also do 1/3 times 1/4 to get 1/12. So each one of these slices is 1/12 of the total, which means obviously there are 12. So the answer there is 12. That's what you would grid in. 10. If y equals h over x, where h is a constant, so that's constant, and if y is 3 when x is 4, okay, what is y equal when x is 6? Well, let's first solve for this h, which is constant, which means it's always the same. It's got a letter representing it right now, but we can figure out the constant with our values of x and y here. So 3 equals h over 4, so we multiply both sides by 4, or cross multiply, whatever you like. We get h is 12. Okay, so now we know that for the next problem, what does y equal when x is 6? Well, we know h is 12, x is going to be 6, so this is just going to be 2. And that's your answer. So you would grid in 2. Number 11. Okay, so we've got a figure here. I'll draw it quickly. Let's see. Something like that. And it's not drawn to scale, so we can't judge anything about the sizes of angles here based off of the scale. Alright, in the figure above, point B lies on side AC. So A, B, C. Actually, C, B, A. Okay, and this is X and this is Y. These angles here. If X is greater than 55 and less than 60, then what is one possible value for Y? Well, okay, let's just pick a value for X. Well, it's not less than or equal to, so it's got to be something between 55 and 60. So let's pick, I don't know, 57. So if X is 57, what does that leave over for Y? Well, we know X and Y are supplementary, so we know that what's left over for Y is just going to be 180 minus 57, which is 123. So that's an answer. So we could grid that in. But obviously there's a lot of choices we could pick for X, right? We could pick 56, we could pick 58, we could pick 56.5, right? It's just got to be something between these. So 123 is a totally fine answer, but there's actually a lot of different answers we could pick here. And the answer is going to be, well, we can grid in any number here, 123, but if you picked a number between, so Y is less than 125 and greater than 120. Anything between these two values is totally good. So 120.1 even, 121, doesn't matter. Where did I get these bounds? Well, if X has got to be between 55 and 60, that means the Y value's got to be in between, well, 180 minus 55, which is 125, and 180 minus 60, which is 120, right? So that's got to be the bounds for that. So anything between this, I've used 123, but again, you can use anything between 120 and 125. Let's check out number 12. The price of a certain item was $10 in 1990. And it has gone up $2 per year since 1990. If this trend continues, in what year will the price be 100? Okay, so it goes up $2 a year. So that means in 1991, it's 12. In 1992, it's 14, and so on. Now, we could, in theory, write this all out, but that's going to take forever. Instead, we want to know, okay, we want to get to $100. Well, how many increases is that going to be? Well, from 10 to 100, that's a difference of $90. So we have $90 of increases to get from 10 to 100. If it's $2 per year, that means if we do 90 divided by 2, we're going to have 45 years in between, right? So you can imagine we'd write this out. It would be, 16 in 93, 18 in 94, right? We would be writing 45 of these steps to get to 100. Well, if it's 45 years and we start at 1990, our answer is just going to be 1990 plus 45, right? 45 years later, and that's going to be 2035, and that is the answer. And finally, number 13. So we've got a picture here. Looks something like this. We've got a parabola. This is the point 30. This is the point 70. The figure above shows the graph of a quadratic function in the xy plane. Of all the points xy on the graph, for what value of x is the value of y greatest? Okay, so that means we're looking for the x-coordinate of this maximum point, right? This is the highest point, the highest y value of this graph. So we're looking for the x-coordinate that corresponds to this. Well, there's one thing that we know that we have to remember here about quadratics is that they're symmetrical, right? Whatever happens on this side happens on this side. So this is what I mean. If this were point 40, then the equivalent mirror image point would be over here, which is 60, so 1 unit away. If we go 1 unit to the right of 40, that would be 50. If we go 1 unit from the left of 60, that would be 50. What that's telling me is that this middle point, kind of the point on which this thing turns, is going to be point 50 right here, which is going to then correspond to whatever this maximum is. This is going to be x-coordinate of 5. So the answer here is 5.